You know, the very first thing I often tell my patients over 60 is this: sometimes the most dangerous things are sitting quietly right in your freezer. They don't look threatening. In fact, they look comforting: a frozen pizza after a long day, a sweet pastry warmed up for breakfast, a bag of fried snacks at dinner, or that tub of ice cream you reach for as a little reward before bed. But here's the truth: for a body that's carried you through 6 or 7 decades, those four foods are quietly stoking inflammation, pushing your blood pressure higher, weakening your muscles, and over time raising your risk of heart disease and memory decline. Have you ever woken up feeling heavy, foggy, or with your knees aching? One of my patients, Helen, 71 years old, told me she thought she was eating in moderation. But when we looked closer, every evening had pizza, mornings were rushed with frozen pastries, very little vegetables at lunch, and ice cream late at night to help her sleep. When she slowly replaced those habits, her blood pressure steadied, her joints hurt less, and the mornings felt lighter than she ever imagined. Biologically, after 60, our bodies are far more sensitive to refined sugar, excess salt, and oxidized frying oils. White flour makes your blood sugars spike and crash like a roller coaster. Too much sodium pulls water into your blood vessels, forcing your heart to work harder. And reheated frying oils spread silent inflammation that makes joints ache, muscles weaker, and memory slower. So I want you to picture this: if every meal is like a letter sent to your body, what message is frozen? Pizza, pastries, fried food, and ice cream sending, "Hang in there for one more day," or "Let's begin to heal." We don't need perfection. We just need to wake up a little more aware. And from this moment, I want you to see your freezer not as a place of quick comfort, but as a tool to guard your health for the years ahead. And let me add this: our bodies after 60 are like old houses that have seen many storms. During the day, they need energy, but at night, they need repair. That's when your muscles, the bricks holding you up, are most vulnerable. Many of my patients start a small but powerful habit: a little cottage cheese or a warm cup of bone broth before bed. Cottage cheese is rich in casein, a slow-digesting protein that feeds your muscles for 6 to 8 hours while you sleep. Bone broth with collagen and minerals works like a gentle restoration drink for your joints and bones. I remember Richard, 69, who told me every morning felt like a struggle, his body drained overnight. When he started ending his evenings with cottage cheese or bone broth, he came back a few weeks later and said, "Doctor, my mornings feel completely different, like I have a spring under my step again." So let me ask you, have you ever woken up feeling weaker than the night before? If so, maybe it's time to give your body its own night guard. Sometimes the simplest rituals decide how alive you'll feel the next morning. And you know, some foods may seem small, but they carry a quiet kind of power, like a handful of frozen berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. They're not just color on your plate. After 60, they're your silent shield, protecting you in ways you may not even realize. I often call berries the heart of youth, because inside every tiny blueberry or strawberry is a quiet power: vitamin C, and antioxidants that help put out the fires of inflammation smoldering in our joints, in our blood vessels, even in our skin. Have you ever woken up with stiff knees or noticed your skin thinning and wrinkling more easily than before? That's collagen loss, and vitamin C from berries is the key that helps your body patch those gaps. I remember Eleanor, 67 years old. She told me, "Doctor, I always crash in the afternoons. I just don't have the energy." I suggested she start her mornings with a cup of yogurt and a handful of frozen berries. A few weeks later, she walked into my office smiling. "Now I can stroll in the afternoons without feeling drained, and my skin even looks brighter." Picture this: instead of reaching for a sugary dessert, you give yourself a small bowl of frozen berries sprinkled with a little cinnamon or almonds. Not only delicious, but a gift to your joints, your immune system, and your confidence with every step you take. Have you ever walked into the kitchen and forgotten why, or misplaced your keys in your own house? After 60, those moments feel more familiar, and many people worry it's the start of memory decline. But let me tell you this: your brain, just like your muscles, can still be nourished and protected if you give it the right fuel. One of the simplest combinations I recommend to patients is fish rich in omega-3s paired with berries. Salmon, sardines, or mackerel provide those healthy fats that keep your nerve cells firing smoothly like wires wrapped in insulation. And berries, especially blueberries and raspberries, deliver antioxidants that calm the silent inflammation, quietly nibbling away at memory. I think of Richard, 72. He once told me, "Doctor, I'm afraid I'll end up like my father, who developed Alzheimer's at 75. I guided him to eat salmon twice a week and start every morning with yogurt and frozen blueberries. 6 months later, he told me, my mind feels sharper. I remember what I read. I even helped my grandson with math again." See, sometimes the difference doesn't come from expensive pills, but from what's already in your freezer: a piece of salmon, a handful of berries. Small, ordinary choices that can become a strong wall protecting your memory and clarity. And have you ever woken up in the morning with stiff joints, your hands not moving as smoothly as they used to? At 60, and beyond, that stiffness isn't just aging, it's your body reminding you it's missing the tiny building blocks that keep your joints, skin, and gut working smoothly. And one of the most natural sources of those building blocks sits quietly in the freezer: bone broth. Bone broth is full of collagen and amino acids like glycine and proline, the glue that keeps joints connected, skin elastic, and the digestive tract calm. I often call it warm medicine in a bowl. Many of my patients who added a cup of bone broth in the afternoons have told me their hands feel less stiff, their knees more flexible, and their stomachs more at ease. I remember Susan, 70, who avoided walks because of knee pain. I suggested she replace her afternoon tea with a cup of warm bone broth, seasoned with pepper and herbs. Just a few weeks later, she smiled and said, "Doctor, now I can walk with my husband in the park without worrying my knees will give out." So I want you to imagine this. Instead of a sugary dessert before bed, you're holding a steaming bowl of bone broth. It doesn't just warm your body, it quietly rebuilds your joints, your skin, and your digestion. A small habit, but one that can lay a strong foundation for healthier, stronger years ahead. Have you ever heard the old saying, fish is food for the mind and the heart after 60? Those words couldn't be more true. But many people hesitate. They think frozen fish is less nutritious than fresh. The truth: science shows that wild-caught fish frozen right after leaving the ocean actually preserves omega-3 ES and protein better than fish that's been sitting for days on a grocery counter. I remember Michael, 74. He often complained that his memory was slipping. He even forgot to close his garage door. When he began adding frozen salmon and sardines to his dinners a few times a week, just 2 months later, he walked into my clinic with brighter eyes and said proudly, "Doctor, my mind feels sharper and my walks are easier." You see, omega-3s in fish are like oil for the brain and heart, reducing silent inflammation, keeping blood vessels flexible, and supporting every heartbeat. And that clean, easy-to-digest protein, it's the very fuel your muscles need to recover after every step you take. So the next time you open your freezer, instead of reaching for pizza or fried chicken, let your hand land on a package of salmon, mackerel, or sardines. With just a little lemon and olive oil, you'll have a meal that doesn't just taste good. It nourishes your heart, your brain, and your muscles. And there's another quiet secret in the freezer that many people overlook: frozen berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. They look simple, but they're tiny treasures of anti-aging power. After 60, when memory slows and knees sometimes stiffen, these colorful gems help sweep away free radicals and calm the silent fires of inflammation. I remember Anna, 69, who told me she always felt exhausted in the afternoons. I suggested she start her mornings with a cup of yogurt and a few spoonfuls of frozen strawberries. Weeks later, she returned glowing. "Doctor, I don't feel drained in the middle of the day anymore. Now I can play with my granddaughter all afternoon." Here's the fascinating part. Frozen berries are picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen, locking in vitamin C, fiber, and antioxidants even more than the fresh ones that sit in the fridge for a week. Every time you toss them into oatmeal or blend them into a smoothie, you're sending a message to your heart and brain: I'm still protecting you. And let me ask you, have you ever thought that a handful of frozen blueberries could be a natural medicine for your memory and vitality? I often tell my patients muscles are like a locked door. To open it, you need both the key and the hand to turn it. The key is protein. The turning hand is movement. If you only have one, the door never truly opens. Richard, 72, once said, "Doctor, I walk every day, but my muscles still feel weak. I can barely get up from a chair." When I asked about his meals, he admitted that after exercising, he ate nothing at all, just water. I guided him to try a small serving of protein ricotta cottage cheese, or even a few bites of salmon within an hour after activity. 2 months later, he smiled and said, "Now I can rise from my chair without holding on." That's the science in its simplest form. After exercise, muscle cells are thirsty for nutrients. If you give them protein right then, they absorb twice as much as when you're sitting idle. Even at 60 or 70, the body still has an incredible capacity to recover if you give it the right signal at the right time. So let me ask you, after a walk or a bit of gardening, have you ever rewarded your body with a small serving of protein, like a gentle gift? That one habit could shape your strength for years to come. And here's something I always emphasize with patients over 60. Our bodies change the rules of the game. We need fewer calories but more nutrients in every bite. In other words, the basket we carry is smaller, but the demands inside are greater. If we fill that basket with empty calories, pastries, sodas, fried foods, we may fill the belly, but the body stays hungry. I remember Susan, 70 years old, who often sighed to me, "Doctor, I eat plenty, but I still feel tired and weak." When I looked at her food journal, most of it was cookies, sugary cereals, and barely any vegetables or quality protein. When we made some changes, adding cheese, fish, vegetables, and nuts, she came back weeks later with a glowing face and said, "Now I actually eat less than before, but I feel so much stronger." You see, after 60, there's no room for waste. Every meal is an opportunity to nourish your body, not just to fill your stomach. And I truly believe that when we choose wisely, turning every bite into an investment, the body pays us back with strength, clarity, and a deep sense of peace that empty calories can never give. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Will you use your basket to fill up on empty energy? Or will you choose to load it with the nutrients that help you walk stronger for many more years? And let's talk about something many people get wrong: frozen vegetables. So many assume they're lower quality than fresh, but the truth is just the opposite. Frozen vegetables are picked at peak ripeness and frozen right away, locking in vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Meanwhile, that bag of fresh greens sitting in your fridge all week is quietly losing its nutrients day by day. I remember Richard, 72, who told me, "Doctor, I buy fresh veggies, but by the time I eat them, half have wilted. It feels like such a waste." I suggested he switch to frozen broccoli, spinach, carrots, just a few minutes steamed or stir-fried. A few months later, he smiled and said, "Now I eat vegetables every day. My stomach feels calmer and even walking feels lighter." You see, frozen vegetables aren't just a convenient backup. They're silent partners feeding the little garden inside your gut. And when that microbiome is thriving, it helps lower the silent inflammation, the biggest enemy of muscles and healthy aging. So the next time you open your freezer and see that bag of vegetables, don't think of it as Plan B. Think of it as natural medicine, quietly waiting to restore your body and help you live stronger each day.